Here's my Pearl guide. I'm going to go over these agents, but first I want to talk about the macro of Pearl. When you're trying to understand something or be better at something, it's really important to break it down and to ask yourself a lot of questions, no matter how specific. I'm not going to get super specific as it is a basic guide and I don't want to take up hours of time. I'm going to keep things non-specific and broad, and we're going to start from the very beginning. So from an attacker's perspective, what do we want to achieve? We want the spike to be planted and we want the spike to blow up. So then the next question down the line is, how do we do that? And this is where the context of Pearl is important, right? Because you can say the same thing about every map. So now we know, now we have to use the context of Pearl for the how, right? How do we get the bomb planted? And there's going to be ways that we do this on Pearl that we've got from playing the game, right? So one of the ways that are really, really good on this map is to split. Splitting quite good on this map because mid is quite a good area to take away from the defenders. Hey, it's me from the future editing this video, and I can't believe I didn't explain why this point of the map is actually strong. The reason why it's strong is because it is their fast rotation. They want to fast rotate through this area, otherwise they have a slow rotation. Another reason why this is good is that you are adding an additional area, an extra set of angles where they have to worry about you coming from on the attack execute. So it means that you can attack from 2 points instead of 1 point. It makes the attack a lot stronger. On top of that as well, when you're splitting like this, and especially when you'll be doing a split with the majority in the center of the map, which is normally how it's done, you normally want to send 3 players, maybe 4 players towards the center of the map, as you are able to pivot easier into the other side if things go wrong, or if you have an opening that allows you to pivot to the other side of the map. Another good thing we can do on attack is to fake, because this map is quite a large map. It has a lot of slow rotations for the defenders. And also as well, you can also punish them on their fast rotations with any potential lurk if you decide to do a fake. And even though I've only just scratched the surface of the how we can get the bomb planted, I'm going to just quickly move on to how can we get the bomb to explode. And on this map, it is very post-plant heavy, because post-plant is very easy for attackers on this map, provided they can get the bomb in a specific position. And that then opens up going backwards and saying, how can we get the bomb planted in this specific position? So how do we get the bomb planted here, as opposed to how do we get the bomb planted? Because we know that post-plant is so favourable for attackers, we know that they would want to get to post-plant with as minimal problems as possible, because if it was even, they would most likely win. And all these questions are going to influence what agents will get played, as well as some of the agents will also make you ask questions about the map itself, and like, can I fit this agent into this map, because it fulfills this type of niche that this map might be able to use. So now I'll go back to defense. What do a defense want to achieve? They want to stop the bomb from being planted, and they want to stop the bomb from blowing up. How do you achieve that in the context of Pearl? So one of the main things that we talked about on attack is that the midsection splitting is quite good. So generally you'll see someone like a killjoy, which is maybe the reason why they're core, can defend the midsection the best. Generally out of all the sentinels. Which means that you will see sentinel setups that will heavy play towards mid. Or mainly killjoy setups that will heavily play towards mid. That's one of the options they have. They will try and stop the attackers from accruing any advantages they could get by splitting and stopping that split from happening. Another thing they might do as well is to try and delay the plant from happening as much as possible. So you'll see a lot of pressure towards the outer part of B. There's going to be sprays through the box. There's going to be sprays through the 2 smokes in heaven. There's going to be reveals. There's going to be things that stop the B players, the people trying to plant on B, from getting the plant down without being contested. And there's going to be a complete rabbit hole of questions of, what if I do this? What if this happens? What if I play this agent? There's all these types of rabbit holes that you can go down. I'm not going to go down in this video, at least. I'm going to go over all these categories and what they mean. So the first one is core. And core essentially means the best in that role in the meta. They tend to be central to a lot of the meta plays that are being played on that map. Some of the strongest plays you can do on that map. So Astra and Killjoy are pretty important for this map. And I'll go over that after we've gone over all the categories. So fill is essentially, once you've got your core, who's going to fill out the rest of the slots? And these agents are going to help to fill out the remaining 3 slots. Next is the alternative. So the alternatives to the core. So these are going to be played. They have a certain role, and they're kind of niche, I guess. Where they're kind of alternative to the core. They're going to fulfill a certain thing or just not do it quite as well as what the core can do. So Chamber, for instance, he's quite niche in the way that he's not the best at defending mid, but he's a lot more aggressive. He can fulfill a more operator-centric role. He's pretty good at playing B. He's pretty good at getting the first pick on A. He can do things that Killjoy can't do, but he's also not as good as maybe the premier strategies on this map. Along with things like Clove as well. Clove is a lot more solo queue centric than Astra is. If you're below Immortal, it's probably better to play one of these two agents than it is to play Astra. Okay, and then we've got Niche, and Niche essentially is specialized. They're more specialized to do very certain things, such as, well, Brim is here, so he's pretty good on the post plant. He has a lot of decent post plant util, right? He has Stim, so not Stim. He has Orbital Strike and Incendiary to help with the post plant on B or A. He also, on defense, if you do flip it, he does have the Stim Beacon, where he can make the map smaller, essentially, by moving faster. And he can do that for the whole of his team moving towards the site as well, if he needs to. Or, like, the whole of his team that is, like, moving away from the site you're currently at. And the smokes aren't too bad either. He has 3 smokes active at once, so he can do smokes like this, which isn't really possible by an agent like Astra. You have Sage as well. Sage's wall is pretty niche. It's pretty much the extent of her, though. She's not really that good otherwise. But the wall is quite strong. The slows are pretty decent. The heal and the res are pretty niche as well. But for the most part, Sage is okay. I think you do have to be probably duoed with someone to make the Sage really, really work. And it can potentially work in a pro setting as well if they play around it properly. Next is Deadlock. Deadlock does fulfill like a more like site-centric role where she can defend sites really well, but she really struggles on attack. Really struggles on attack because you don't really take things in boxes like you do on other maps like Icebox, for instance. You do kind of take this in like two ways, like 2 things. You take long and then you take this, but you don't really ever get enemies like the defenders. They'd never really try and take this back. And that's why Deadlock is strong on attack, is if they try to re-explore the area, you can punish them very easily. That doesn't happen on this map. Next is Viper, and Viper feels like that double smokes type role, where you can default the wall. If I can get the wall, you can default this wall, this toxic screen here, and it can create a lot of pressure on B. And B is one of those sites that you really want to be creating pressure, and also you can block off the sight lines properly, so it means that they can't see you moving up into here, so you can play it a bit more explosively potentially on B, which is quite weird because Viper herself is not really an explosive agent, but it does help you to potentially be explosive with other agents. Next is the weak category, and this is for Harbor alone, because I think he would be played on this map as he was before if he was actually strong, but he's not very good. So I do think they need to rework him, and when he gets stronger, he probably will see play on this map in a double controller setup with either Viper or with Astra. And I do think that is possible, but I don't think that he's playable right now in his current state. Okay, so finally, I'm going to be a bit more specific about Astra and Killjoy and what they actually do on this map. So one of the main things about Killjoy is that she can do things like this. So this is very similar to what Cypher can do over on A, where she can do things like this, right? She can play towards B, and she can help towards like the door over here, right? This area and this area. But the important thing with Killjoy is that she can do this as well. She can do things like this, where she can play completely to the midsection of the map, where she doesn't have to go to a site. She's not trying to lock down a site. She's trying to stop anything from happening in mid. So this will shut down any splits, and it also means that fast rotations are going to be, for the most part, available to the defenders. So she's quite good at allowing you to make the map a bit smaller for the defenders because they take less time to rotate. But she also stops the attackers from getting advantages through splits, or at least without them knowing, and also stops any lurks potentially happening too. So she is good in that sense, and I think that's one of the reasons why she's core, is because she has this flexibility over Cypher, over Chamber, maybe over Voice. Voice is a bit better at this than I would say Cypher and Chamber are, that she can kind of go into the midsection a bit more, because she kind of has the ability to take fights herself with the flash. So she can play, as long as she's playing towards the midsection and has like a wall on the other one, she's fine. She also her thing isn't jumpable here, so she can place it here and the wall will go off. So she does have a bit of an advantage over these two, I would say. Maybe not so much Chamber, because Chamber also can take his own fight sufficiently. It's just that he doesn't give himself an advantage to take the fight. He gives himself an advantage to get away from a trade. So he's pretty good at that, but not in the same way. The main thing with Astra is that she has this fake smoke, which is really good for defending yourself, I guess, or like stopping the enemy team from getting good information on you on B, and it can make like any operator players play here, like basically be playing 2 angles, right? Where if they're on top of this box, for instance, they're gonna be playing like these 2 angles, right? I've got like the wrong cones, but there you go. They're gonna be playing these 2 angles, right? Like both of these at once, and you can't really do that. So it's gonna force this player down off somewhere, maybe on this corner. And even then, they're still playing 2 angles. So it's really, really difficult to play with just this smoke. You don't even have to use it in the round. But you can just use the smoke and sit here instead. Your whole team can sit like behind here somewhere, over here, and just create a lot of pressure on B. And I think she's basically the only controller that can really do that now, especially with the Viper nerf where she can't pick up the orb anymore. So you can't do this on Viper really either. You have to keep the orb there the whole round. So I think Astra is pretty much the premier controller because of this smoke, as well as her her ability to have a good post plant with the gravity wells, as well as with the cosmic divide. Can help her both on attack and defense to get the bomb diffused or get the bomb to blow up, or to plant the bomb. I think she's very, very good in the majority of cases on this map. She's also good for like any midsections execs, basically, where you can basically push people off angles with Nova Pulse or with the Gravity Well. And her smokes are good enough. She only has 2, but they are good enough to do things like this, to do things like this, these smokes, this smoke, like this. She can do it all. The one thing is on A, like she basically has to like choose where she wants to smoke. She can do one way up here. She can do this, do this. You can also do this one. It is a bit difficult. Generally, I think this is like what most people opt into. But yeah, this one's also possible. It really depends on the round and what enemies are doing. But yeah, for the most part, Astra is the strongest controller because of her presence on post plant and her presence in the mid round and early round, where she can have a lot of presence, more so than other controllers. She can have a lot of impact, more so than other controllers. So that's it for the basic Pearl guide. I probably missed some things, and I probably didn't go in as in depth as maybe I could have done. So if you do have any questions, then feel free to put them into the comments, and I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next one.